Well, speaking of having one foot in the streets and the music, June 30th, 2012,
Right.
there was a major bust.
Okay. That was at my house, huh?
Was it?
Yeah, my house was one of the ones that got hit.
Okay. Well, according to reports, the law enforcement agents seized more than $1 million worth of marijuana, including thousands of marijuana plants from at least 14 indoor grow operations, dozens of firearms, and at least $400,000 in cash.
Right.
30 people were arrested,
Right.
including Richie Rich Sorrell.
Right.
Can you tell me what led up to this?
So this right here is a case that I caught that was with some other guys. It says 30, so it's 29 people on that case that aren't me, that I wasn't in conjunction with, in cahoots with. But I knew some of these guys. These are kids who live out where I live now. So I met these guys through a homeboy who got a motorcycle painted. They had a shop where they used to do these custom bikes. So one day my boy was going up there to pick up his bike. He took me with him. And that's when I got introduced to these kids who worked at this shop. He painted his bike a candy red. It was a chopper he bought from me. So I started taking my bikes there to get service, different little shit. And then I found out that these dudes were stretching bikes and raking them. That's who ended up building that Tupac bike.
What does that mean, stretching and raking?
Where you take a Harley Davidson, a road glide or a street glide, you cut the neck on the frame, you stretch and rake it.
Got it.
Put a bigger wheel on the front, a 30-inch wheel, airbag it, big long. You've seen the shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So they built a Tupac, the bike I was talking about, the Tupac bike. They built that bike for me. That's how I got caught up with them. They had a bunch of shit going on, or apparently it seemed like it was more than what was really going on. But I went to check on my motorcycle one day at the shop, and I drove my Bentley. And this was on April 29th. I went up there to check on my bike. They raided on May 12th. So within 2 weeks, I walked into an investigation that was ongoing because that shop was under video surveillance. So I guess the cameras picked up my license plate and made my house a place to be searched. And when they searched my house, I had a small grow, nothing you could be making money off of, but just where they could smoke. Plus, everybody was kind of just starting to grow. I was just trying to figure it out. So that's how I got linked into that case. So when they found a grow at my house, they tied me into this case.
Oh.
It was a full conspiracy. Me and 29 other white kids.
Yeah. The DEA called this Operation Disco Dazed.
Because they had houses all in Discovery Bay. And, you know, they had a lot of shit going on out in the Discovery Bay area. And I think that's where the Disco Dazed thing came out.
When they first busted you, what were they threatening you with in terms of time?
10 years.
10 years.
10.
Were they trying to get you to cooperate? And
of course, you know, that's always.
Yeah.
That's always. So what happened with me was I wasn't home when they raided. I was at my baby mom's house. So one of my neighbors called me, and when I woke up the next morning, I had all these calls and texts on my phone. So I called my neighbor, and I'm like, "What's up?" He said, "You home?" I'm like, "No." He said, "Well, don't come home." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because they over there." I said, "Who?" He said, "Everybody." I was like, "What you talking about?" He said, "Dude, it's DEAs and the mail company, and there's a lot of people over there." So what I did is I stayed on the lam and had my lawyer set up a self-surrender. So when I turned myself in, that's when my started, as far as they let me know, "Oh, you're going to get 10 years, but all you guys are getting a whole bunch of time." And then they start putting the case off, meaning the feds start putting it off, like the court dates, you know, because in the feds, you go to jail, they release you on a signature bond, and then you start fighting from the street. And they just put it off. They put it off for 4 years before we even had a solid court date. You know, I take that back. We had 2 solid court dates. Then they start putting it off. They put it off for 4 years, and then they start throwing out the deals. And the deals were nothing like what they were saying. You know, it started at 10 years. Then they turned into 8. The first deal was 18 to 24 months. Then it ended up being 12 to 18 months for what because I only had 50 plants. But my case got separated from the conspiracy.
Well, wasn't growing legal back then?
Yeah, I thought it was. I had every little piece of paper. You know, you go down there, you talk to the doctor, you give him the money, they give you the scripts, you staple it to the wall.
Yeah. You could do up to 99 plants legally.
And I had 50.
So what law did you break?
The federal government, marijuana is still legal right now. This was a federal
right.
case.
Yeah, but you never hear of the feds.
No,
I
so
remember even Obama said that he's not going to put any more federal resources into marijuana at one point.
I don't know what put the federal government on that group of guys, but they sure came and got us.
Did any of those guys testify against you?
No one testified against anybody.
Everyone kept their mouth shut.
As far as I know.
Huh.
Because no one's in my paperwork.
Okay.
You know, the dad got the most time. He was the head of the case. I think he got 8 years. And then somebody else got 4. And then everything else was probations and 18 months and 12 months.
You got a year.
I got a year.
And 8 months probation. 8 years probation.
No. So what I got, my first, let me tell you what happened. My first, they were trying to give me, my sentence was between 12 and 18 months. They were trying to charge me with something called maintaining a place. And that means you go like get a warehouse or a house and you set it up to grow. My lawyer argued that this was my main residence, and there was only like 6% of my house was to grow. So they took the maintaining a place charge off. So that took me to 12 months. So they gave me 12 months, 3 years felony probation.
Okay. And I guess you couldn't smoke weed?
Couldn't smoke, couldn't drink, dude. I caught a DUI. Look, I caught a DUI on pretrial. Pretrial is when you in front of getting sentenced. So you catch the case, you're on pretrial, which is probation, really. And then once you catch the case and you come on probation. So I caught a DUI on pretrial. And with the Warriors, they had won the shit. And I'm drinking with my dudes. I tried to drive home. They offered me to take me home. I was like, no, I'm straight. I drove 2 blocks, got pulled over and caught a DUI. So in a term of my sentencing was no alcohol or no pot. So they straightened my life up.
Huh.
You know, as far as like my get high.
Right. You couldn't smoke until last year?
I couldn't smoke till I got off of probation. I got off probation last year.
Okay. And you really didn't smoke that whole time?
From 2012 to 2019, I didn't smoke no weed. 7 years.
Well, and I know you smoked before this interview. So how did it feel to take that first smoke after all that time?
Hey, you know what's crazy, Vlad? When I got home off the probation, I was at home and I would sneak and drink from time to time because they couldn't really, tell if you're drinking at home. But if you got caught another DUI, but I wasn't smoking. When I got off probation and they gave me the little piece of paper that states my shit terminated, I got in the car and I went and got some weed. And I got in the car flat and I went and got some weed. I drove straight to Oakland and Burner had put together a package for me. And he left it with my boy Bill at Cookies. And it was a box and it was all kind of shit. It was some Gary Payton. It was a London pound cake, cereal milk, just different shit. It was probably a total of maybe about 6 ounces, but a little more of each one. I think the most I had was the London pound cake because it was in a big bag. And I remember rolling up and sitting on my couch, and it was damn near like G Money. And it was like G Money and like Pookie. I mean, I was wondering, did I want to hit this shit? I was looking at it and I said, fuck it. And I took a couple pulls and I started coughing. I'm looking back. I'm like, okay. So I get to about maybe take 3 pulls, Vlad. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay. Because, I come from the era of it was 2 weeds. It was purple and OG. That was it.
Yeah.
Now this is all these different flavors and different shit. So maybe in about 20 minutes, Vlad, I'm sitting on the couch and I'm very high. I'm hella high, like, and I'm sitting back. It's like that first high, where everything is hella funny, you laughing. And I sat there and I sat in the house, dude, for like a week straight, just smoking. Because what I didn't want to do was be such a lightweight to where when I got out and hung around my folks who smoked, the weed would just punish me like that. So I sat in the house for about 2 weeks and just smoked, got my tolerance up. And I remember going to the studio recording my first song. I was like, damn. Because I didn't think I would be able to write sober. It took a while, but it started happening for me. But yeah, that first joint, that was nice. And it wasn't so much just nice to be high. It was just nice not to be a child, because when you're on probation, you got to call and ask, can you go somewhere? You can't smoke. You can't. And at my age, bro, like, what the like, you know what I mean? It's way too late in the game to be getting yourself in situations where they can tell you what you can and can't do. So It was more liberating. Like I'm grown. I can smoke this joint because I want to, and can't nobody say shit about it. But the new weed was different.